The story kicks off with a little girl named Coco, who is deep in thought. She wonders if regular folks are born without knowing what they will end up doing in life, and if the same goes for witches. One day, Coco heads out toward the woods to just kick back and enjoy nature for a bit. After a while, she starts washing her clothes at a nearby spring with crystal clear water. She is washing a white blanket and, without thinking twice, tosses some soap into the water. Suddenly, suds start spreading all over the pristine spring. A deer standing nearby watches her. Coco notices the animal and shoots it a small smile. She softly apologizes for messing up the water, letting the deer know she is almost done and that the spring will be back to normal in a bit since it is tied to magic. When she pulls her clean blankets out of the water, she notices the spring suddenly glowing, and in just a few seconds, it is completely spotless again. There is absolutely no trace of soap left. Seeing this, the deer calmly takes a drink, and Coco just smiles, thinking about how beautiful this sight is every single time. She truly believes that magic is an amazing thing. In her world, magic is everywhere. It is an essential and useful part of everyday life, but nobody actually knows how it works. Only witches can cast magic, while everyone else just gets to enjoy the perks. Not just anyone can become a witch, which makes Coco wish she had been born one. After heading back home, Coco hangs her blankets up to dry and sits on the roof, daydreaming about what it would be like to use magic. After thinking for a bit, she suddenly grabs the blankets and tries to magically turn them into a flying cloak. Obviously, nothing happens. But then, a strong gust of wind blows by, snatching one of the sheets and carrying it away. Coco freaks out and immediately chases after it, repeatedly saying that this was not the kind of flying she asked for. After struggling quite a bit, she finally catches the sheet, but right at that moment, she glances up at the sky and spots a flying Pegasus carriage. She is completely blown away by the sight, and when the carriage lands right in front of her house, she is absolutely thrilled. She almost forgets she even needs to hang the blanket back up, but quickly puts it in its place and dashes downstairs because she has never seen a carriage land before. She starts looking for her mom to tell her all about it, but the second she swings the door open, she accidentally hits someone with it. Standing right there is a tall guy wearing a cloak. He is a total stranger, and Coco immediately apologizes, saying she had no clue he was standing there. The guy gives a slight smile and says it is partly his fault for standing so close to the door. Just then, Coco's attention shifts to a group of women chatting about fabrics. They are looking at different materials and talking about how they never expected to find stuff like this around here. One of the women mentions that floral embroidery is starting to look a bit dated, while another asks why they cannot find that highly sought-after fabric that sold out so fast over in the neighboring town. Hearing all this, Coco gets super excited because she figures out these people came from that Pegasus carriage. She immediately looks at the guy, but he clarifies right away that he is not with them. At the same time, one of the women asks Coco's mom if she has any more lace. Her mom immediately starts looking for it and says she definitely should have some. She then glances at Coco and tells her not to just stand there, but to help out. The guy, who is still waiting, speaks up and says he needs some smoky-colored fabric, adding that if she is too busy, he can always come back later. Coco immediately chimes in, saying she can cut the fabric for him herself. Her mom agrees, knowing Coco is great at this kind of work. Before heading off, Coco asks her mom if she can go check out the Pegasus carriage later. At first, her mom says no, explaining that she cannot go around bothering the customers' things, but Coco keeps pushing, promising she will only look from a distance. Her mom still will not budge. That is when Coco plays her trump card, saying if she is allowed to go, she will stop talking about wanting to become a witch. Hearing that, her mom finally gives in and says she can go if she finishes her work fast. Coco is over the moon and immediately runs over to the guy to ask for his measurements. After getting the measurements, she pulls out the fabric and measures it super carefully. She makes her marks with completely steady hands and cuts it without a single mistake. Her work is so clean and perfect that the guy just stands there quietly, watching her with intense focus. But when Coco realizes he is staring, she gets a little nervous. The guy picks up the fabric and is clearly impressed by her work. He tells Coco that her concentration is off the charts and her hands are incredibly steady. He points out that there was zero hesitation in her cutting lines. The cut is absolutely clean, and the finish is highly precise. He admits he had no idea there could be such a skilled crafter in this tiny village, even going as far as to say her work is nothing short of magic. Coco is surprised by the compliment, but immediately brushes it off, saying it is not like that at all. In her eyes, real magic is something entirely different. It is way more mysterious, sparkly, and just incredibly special and beautiful. As she talks, she starts feeling a bit shy and quickly covers her face. The guy easily figures out that she is absolutely obsessed with magic. He asks her why she loves it so much. That is when Coco shares a story from her childhood. She tells him about a festival she went to when she was little, where she bumped into a witch wearing a mask. That witch asked her if she wanted to buy a magical picture book. Coco loved picture books, but she did not know the first thing about magic. When she asked what magic was, the witch told her it was a miracle that made the world a more beautiful and lively place. Then, the witch actually showed her some magic right there. She told Coco about Pegasus carriages that fly through the sky, a spring that always stays crystal clear, and even mentioned that the very ground beneath her feet was tied to magic. That day, Coco noticed the magic around her for the very first time and was completely mesmerized. Right then and there, she decided she loved magic. The witch then offered her the magical picture book again, throwing in a free wand to sweeten the deal. Coco bought the book without a second thought, using the exact money her mom had given her to buy roasted strawberries. When her mom saw the book, she was pretty confused. Coco explained that she had been chasing a butterfly and ran into someone with a pointed hat who sold her the magical book and wand. At the time, it did not seem like a big deal. But that very day, Coco made up her mind that she was going to become a witch and make the world a more beautiful place. However, when her mom heard that, she shut it down immediately, saying it was impossible because nobody can become a witch unless they are born with magical powers. She made it crystal clear that normal folks just cannot be witches. Coco tried to convince her, pointing out that the ground beneath her feet was glowing with every step she took. Her mom just grabbed her hand and said that if the ground kept glowing all the way home, maybe she really could use magic. But on the walk back that night, Coco started crying because the ground stopped glowing shortly after. Even now, just thinking about it brings tears to her eyes. She admits that ever since then, she has loved watching magic happen and just cannot let go of her dream of becoming a witch. The guy listens to her whole story very carefully, but before he can ask her anything else, a loud crash echoes from outside. Coco instantly bolts out the door to see what is going on, and her mom follows right behind her. Once outside, they see the Pegasus carriage collapsed on the ground with two kids standing next to it. Coco runs up to them and asks if they are okay. One of the kids instantly gets defensive, claiming they did not do anything and that the carriage just fell on its own. But his buddy spills the beans, admitting he crawled underneath it and accidentally bumped his head, causing the whole thing to crash. Right then, the three women step outside and are incredibly upset when they see the wrecked carriage, especially since it belonged to their dad. Coco's mom apologizes on behalf of the village, saying the kids have caused them a ton of trouble. But one of the women points out that saying sorry will not fix anything, as they are now stranded without a ride home. That is when the guy steps up and takes a close look at the carriage. He asks if they would mind letting him fix it, noting that the damage does not look too serious. The women give him a suspicious look and ask who exactly he is. The guy gives a slight apology, mentioning it would have been easier if he was wearing his signature hat. He then pulls out a pointed hat, introduces himself as Qifrey, and reveals that he is a witch. Everyone is completely stunned, and the women instantly trust him. Qifrey says he just needs to reapply the spell on the carriage's floorboards, but mentions it might be a bit tricky to do it out in the open. Coco instantly speaks up, offering him their workshop to use. Her mom scolds her for making that kind of offer without asking first, but Coco insists, knowing he is a real witch and realizing this is her chance to finally see magic happen with her own eyes. Despite her excitement, Qifrey locks himself inside the workshop alone and tells Coco to stand guard outside to make sure nobody peeks while he is drawing the spell. Hearing this bums Coco out, since she will not get to see a thing. It slowly dawns on her that things are not as simple as they seem. She starts wondering why people are not allowed to see how magic is done, considering it is everywhere in the world, yet no one knows how it is actually cast. It is a secret kept strictly among witches. Meanwhile, she notices the same two kids climbing onto the roof, trying to peek inside. Coco immediately scrambles up the roof to stop them, but instead of doing that, she catches herself trying to peek in too. When they crack the window open, the curtains are drawn tight, and they cannot see a single thing. The kids give up and leave. Coco is just about to head down when suddenly, the sheet she had hung out to dry earlier falls right on top of her. That is when it hits her. She can sneak into the workshop through the roof. She quietly slips inside, grabbing her magical picture book first. Then, hesitating a bit, she tries to get a good look at Qifrey. When she looks closely, she realizes Qifrey is not using a wand at all. He is using a pen to draw symbols on the floor of the carriage. Coco is completely shocked. She finally understands that magic is not spoken, it is drawn. And the thing she always thought was a wand is actually just a pen. As soon as he wraps up his work, Coco quickly sneaks back out through the roof without being seen and makes it to the front door right on time. With the carriage fixed, the women head off without any issues, and Qifrey leaves shortly after. Coco's mom lets out a sigh of relief, admitting she was terrified that Coco's obsession with magic might make her beg the witch to take her away. She explains that she already lost her husband to an illness, and if her daughter left too, she would be completely alone. Hearing this, Coco immediately hugs her tight and promises she will never leave her. Her mom smiles, thanking her and calling her a really good kid. That night after dinner, Coco wastes absolutely no time. She heads straight to her room and examines the object she always thought was a wand. Pulling the cap off, she confirms that it really is a pen. She then studies her magical picture book carefully, trying to decode the patterns drawn inside. It becomes crystal clear to her that the pen is a real magic wand, and the crystal attached to the end is actually the ink. She pops the crystal out and dips the pen's tip into the ink. Before starting, she silently apologizes to her mom, promising she is not going anywhere and just wants to try it out once. After a lot of hesitation, she slowly starts drawing the patterns from the book. She traces every single line with extreme focus, but once the first symbol is done, absolutely nothing happens. She feels confused and super disappointed. She complains out loud, thinking that magic could not possibly be this easy. Exhausted, she rests her head on the table. Just then, a single drop of ink drips from her pen, connecting the unfinished lines of a circle. The moment the circle is complete, it activates, filling the room with a bright flash and sparkles everywhere. Coco jumps for joy, realizing she actually just used magic. She starts running all over the room, visibly bursting with happiness. But that joy quickly turns into panic when she remembers she was never supposed to see this, and if Qifrey finds out, he could be furious. Still, she cannot bring herself to stop and decides to try out just one more spell. At that exact moment, Qifrey is sitting at his camp in the nearby woods, thinking about what Coco said and that magical picture book, feeling like something just does not add up. After thinking it over for a bit, it suddenly clicks, and he realizes exactly what that book might be. Meanwhile, Coco finishes drawing her second spell, but this time, it triggers a fire spell. Seeing the flames, she panics and frantically tries to put them out. Luckily, the fire does not spread too far, and she manages to get the situation under control, breathing a huge sigh of relief since it could have turned into a massive disaster. Even after that little scare, Coco does not stop. By drawing spells over and over, she slowly starts figuring out how everything works. She realizes that bigger spells pack a lot more punch, and the ones drawn neatly last way longer. But she also learns that drawing something both big and precise is incredibly difficult, even though Qifrey made it look like a breeze when he fixed the carriage. After brainstorming for a bit, Coco gets an idea. She places a piece of paper right over her magical picture book and starts tracing the lines. Just as she hoped, she is able to draw everything perfectly and neatly, no matter how complicated the spell looks. Doing this, she manages to create an almost flawless copy of a highly complex spell, completely unaware of what is hiding in the shadows right behind her. The second she finishes the final line, Qifrey suddenly grabs her from behind and rushes her out of the house in a flash. At that exact moment, the spell activates with a blinding light, triggering a massive magical explosion. Qifrey flies up into the sky with Coco to get her away from the danger and immediately demands to know what spell she just cast. Coco is terrified and admits she has no idea because she was just copying a pattern from the book. Before Qifrey can ask anything else, they both look down and Coco spots her mom frantically looking for her outside the house. Coco screams for her to run, but she is way too far away to hear anything. Confused and completely unaware of what is happening, her mom gets caught in the magic, and her body slowly begins turning into solid crystal. Watching this happen, Coco completely breaks down, sobbing and screaming for her mom. Qifrey is absolutely shocked, instantly realizing that this is forbidden magic. Fueled by fear and anger, Coco starts hitting him, begging him to let her go so she can get to her mom. Qifrey holds her back, desperately trying to explain that if she goes down there now, she will get trapped in the exact same spell. But Coco refuses to listen and keeps fighting to break free. After a lot of struggling, she manages to slip out of his grip for a split second, but Qifrey catches her again right before she hits the ground. Coco instantly tries to bolt toward her house, sobbing and calling out for her mom, but the crystals just keep spreading endlessly. Before she can get caught in it too, Qifrey grabs her and takes her back up into the sky. Coco breaks down, bawling and apologizing over and over, swearing she had no idea this would happen. Qifrey tries to calm her down, explaining that there was absolutely no way she could have known because all of this is kept completely secret on purpose to prevent things exactly like this from happening. He explains that using magic requires a special ink and casting seals, and creating them is the most important job of a witch. Since Coco now knows all of this, he tells her he has to erase her memory. Hearing this terrifies Coco, and she immediately begs him to stop. She asks him how she is supposed to save her mom if she forgets everything. She tells him she does not remember the exact spell she used, but she remembers the entire magical picture book and everything inside it. Hearing this makes Qifrey change his mind. He realizes that if he wipes her memory, he will never be able to track down that book or figure out who gave it to her. She even tells him she remembers the exact page she copied the spell from. Because of that, if they can just find the book, they can track down the spell. Qifrey admits that if they can locate the correct casting seal, there might actually be a chance to save her mom. Hearing that glimmer of hope, Coco cries and begs him not to erase her memory, promising she will do absolutely anything to save her mom. Qifrey looks at her and asks if she can really handle keeping this secret and if she is truly ready to learn. He warns her that once she steps into this world, there is no going back. If she wants to keep her memories, she has to become one of the people who protect the secret. With that, Qifrey makes the call. Coco is going to become a witch. A little while later, a chilly gust of wind wakes Coco up, and she sees Qifrey sitting next to her. He explains that he called for a Pegasus carriage because flying at this altitude would be way too cold for her. He tells her they are almost there. Then he points to a building nestled deep in the distant mountains, explaining that it is his atelier, and that is where she will be learning from now on. After they land, Qifrey mentions that he planted guard barrier seeds around her old house so they would grow quickly and keep the area safe. Coco's life has completely flipped upside down, and her journey is taking off in a totally new direction. Her childhood home is now completely turned to stone because of that weird spell, making it impossible for anyone to get too close. While Qifrey is explaining all this, he notices Coco starting to cry. He immediately walks over and asks what is wrong. Wiping her tears, Coco says she promised her mom she would never leave her alone. Hearing that, Qifrey understands exactly what she is going through. He gently leads her inside and tries to comfort her, explaining that what happened was not her fault and she should not beat herself up over it. Once inside the atelier, Qifrey uses magic to create a floating sphere of water. He tells Coco soon to let all her tears out into it and then look forward, because this is her new home now. Coco suddenly stops crying, completely amazed by the magic in front of her, but she has no idea what she is supposed to do with the floating water. Right then, Qifrey realizes she is going to need some new clothes, so he steps out without saying another word. Coco just stands there staring at the floating water, finding it super weird because, even though it looks like water, it feels different. She tries calling out for Qifrey, admitting she is scared to touch magic she does not understand. Just then, a girl named Titia walks in and tells her there is no need to be scared because this is not a complicated spell. She explains that it is a vapor bubble made by pulling moisture right out of the air. Titia tilts a tray sitting nearby, letting some water spill from the bubble to help Coco wash her hands. Coco is amazed and thanks her, but Titia gets overly excited just from being thanked. She immediately says, "Thank you back," saying she absolutely loves hearing it. Coco thanks her again, and Titia responds with another thank you. They keep going back and forth until another girl, Riche, walks in and tells Coco that if Titia gets too annoying, she can just ignore her. Titia immediately defends herself, saying she was just trying to help and that Riche should not say stuff like that. Coco notices Riche holding a tray with a pen and ink, so she asks if they are both witches. Titia clarifies that they are not witches yet. They are apprentices and Qifrey's students. She then asks Coco if she is a witch too, assuming she is a student just like them. Titia starts firing off questions one after another, asking how old she is and which atelier she transferred from. Coco smiles awkwardly and tells the truth. She cannot even call herself a student because she only drew her very first spell yesterday, and she is just moving in today. Hearing that, both Titia and Riche go completely silent. Hesitating a bit, Titia asks if Coco is the girl who did that crazy thing. Coco has no idea what she is talking about. Titia explains there is a rumor going around that an outsider used forbidden magic, yet her memories were not erased, and she is actually being allowed to become an apprentice. Right then, Qifrey walks back in and says it looks like everyone has already met. He tells Titia and Riche to finish their morning chores and head back to their rooms to study. Once they leave, he hands Coco some new clothes, which happen to be his student's uniform. Coco takes the clothes hesitantly, and Qifrey reassures her there is nothing to be afraid of. He promises to explain everything once she changes. After she gets dressed, Qifrey starts diving into the history of magic. He explains that a long time ago magic was not anything special. Anyone could use it just by knowing a few patterns and having the right ink. But that ended up causing endless problems, because when people get their hands on unlimited power, they can do some crazy things. During that time, people created some incredibly dangerous spells. Seeing all the chaos, a group of people decided to walk away from the conflict and became the first witches. They wiped the memories of magic from everyone else's minds and shared the secret only with students they deeply trusted. A pact was made that very day. From then on, the world was told that magic was a gift only a chosen few possessed. If everyone found out the truth, the world would just plunge right back into total chaos. That is the exact reason why everyone tries so hard to keep the secret hidden, and why people are whispering about Coco. Qifrey apologizes that she had to hear those rumors, but Coco says it is completely her own fault. She then asks him what forbidden magic actually is. Qifrey explains that it is the very magic created during those ancient conflicts, which was later completely banned. In simple terms, it is any magic designed to hurt others. Hearing this, Coco asks him to only teach her the spells she is absolutely not supposed to use. She figures if she does not know what they are, she will be too terrified to ever try anything on her own. Qifrey admits that he usually takes his time teaching his students step by step, but in her case, it is not going to be that easy. So, he decides to take her downstairs to show her something. He explains that there are a ton of forbidden spells out there, but the golden rule is simple. Any spell cast directly onto a human body is strictly forbidden, no matter what the situation is. Qifrey goes on to explain that forbidden magic covers a lot of ground, like changing someone's appearance, altering their age, teleporting without using a physical door, controlling someone's thoughts or emotions, hurting someone, or even healing them. But among all of those rules, there is exactly one exception: erasing memories. After breaking all of this down, Qifrey pauses and quickly draws a small spell to create a lamp. He explains that most spells are meant to be used on objects, like carriages or lamps. When they finally reach the basement, Qifrey points out a special window and tells her that spells can also be used on windows. He turns the window frame, which already has spells drawn on it, and suddenly, the view outside shifts completely. Instead of mountains, there is now a massive lake right outside. Coco is totally mind-blown and instantly runs up to the glass to look outside. She points out that just a minute ago, they were surrounded by hills. Qifrey explains that this is called a window eye. It connects windows in two completely different locations as long as they have the exact same pattern drawn on them. He then points to a building way off in the distance and tells her it is the Tower of Tomes. He explains that every single magic book ever written automatically gets copied there. As soon as a book is written anywhere in the world, a copy pops up in that tower. Hearing this, Coco immediately realizes that the magical picture book she is looking for must have a copy sitting right in there. Without wasting a second, she tells Qifrey she wants to go there right now, declaring she will not even sleep until she finds it. But he stops her right in her tracks. Suddenly, they watch as a massive creature rises out of the lake. With just one flick of its tail, it sends a giant wave crashing right toward them. Qifrey uses this to make his point, explaining that getting into the tower is not exactly a walk in the park. He turns the window frame again, and the scenery shifts right back to the mountains. He explains that the creature is actually a trial set up by the librarians. The Tower of Tomes is guarded by 4 librarians, and only witches who can pass their trials are allowed inside. So if Coco really wants to go there, she has to learn the ropes first. He also adds that he is genuinely glad to see her so eager to learn. Then he turns the window one more time, revealing a gorgeous field bursting with flowers. He tells her that the spells that are not forbidden look exactly like this. Magic meant to bring joy to everyone. Seeing this beautiful view completely amazes Coco, washing away a lot of her fear, and she agrees to follow his lead. After that, Qifrey takes her to her new room and knocks 3 times. When nobody answers, he figures the room is empty. So he opens the door. He tells Coco that she will have a roommate, and they will share a workspace, but their bedrooms will be separate. Coco excitedly checks out the whole room. Qifrey points out the back stairs she can use to head downstairs, adding that the doors lock, so she does not need to worry about safety. He then tells her she should get some rest since she has had a massive day, and says she can call him if she needs anything. Qifrey leaves and heads off to another spot to make a call using a magical device. He thanks the person on the other end for giving him the green light to take Coco in as an apprentice. He mentions that there is no new info on the picture book yet, because Coco is still pretty shaken up. Meanwhile, Coco is carefully checking out her new workspace, super thrilled to finally see what a real witch's room looks like. Just as she is about to touch something, her roommate, Agat, suddenly drops in and stops her, pointing out that she is on her side of the desk. Coco freezes instantly, looks up, and notices Agat floating in mid-air. Agat tells her to step aside so she can come down. Coco quickly apologizes and steps back. Once Agat lands, Coco tries to introduce herself, but Agat cuts her off, saying she already knows exactly who she is. The outsider everyone is gossiping about. She also mentions she knows Coco is trying to become an apprentice just like them. Then, Agat brings up Coco's mom, bluntly stating that after what happened, she will never be able to turn back into a normal human. Hearing that feels like a gut punch, but Coco refuses to back down. She firmly says she is here for one reason: to save her mom. Agat stops her right there and holds out her hands. She says she has spent her entire life drawing casting seals, working so hard that her hands are permanently stained black with ink. She has pushed through countless tests just to earn the right to be an apprentice. She tells Coco that since she is just a normal girl who does not know the first thing about magic, becoming a witch is just impossible for her. Even after hearing all those harsh words, Coco refuses to give up. She points out that she has already drawn a spell before, so until she actually gives it a real shot, nobody knows what will happen. Agat challenges her right then and there, telling her that if she wants to prove herself, her tests start tomorrow. Just then, Tetia bursts into the room without even knocking to announce that dinner is ready. Right on cue, Coco's stomach growls loudly. They drop the argument and head out to eat. Richie also chimes in, saying she is starving. Tetia mentions she is hungry too, and reveals that they put together a little welcome party for Coco, so there should be a ton of food. But when they all sit down at the table, They realize it is just the same regular meal they have every day. Tetia asks Qifrey what happened to the welcome party. Qifrey calmly explains that everything happened super fast today, so they will throw a proper celebration later. He then asks where Agat is. Tetia mentions that she is just eating in her room. Qifrey sighs, saying it would be nice if she joined them at the table every once in a while. He then turns to Coco and tells her to dig in. Coco is a little nervous, but the second she takes her first bite, she is totally blown away by how delicious it is. Tetia agrees and proudly mentions that they bake the bread themselves. Riche adds that their master is an amazing cook, which is why they learn so much from him. Qifrey explains that the local wheat and vegetables are just top-notch quality. Coco really enjoys the meal, but when she heads to bed that night, memories of her mom keep flooding back. The thoughts make her sad, but they also fuel her determination even more. The next morning, she wakes up fully committed to studying seriously because she knows she has to pass the tests to officially become an apprentice. The only problem is she has no clue what she is actually supposed to do, leaving her pretty confused. Suddenly, Qifrey walks over and asks her what she wants to know, pointing out that you cannot learn everything about magic just by reading books. He hands her the tools used to draw magic and explains that the best way to learn is by getting your hands dirty and practicing. Coco gets a little excited, but then she remembers the pen she used to draw that disastrous spell. She admits she is still a little scared, but quickly follows up by saying she will do whatever it takes to save her mom. Hearing that kind of drive, Qifrey decides it is time to officially kick off her training. But the second Coco looks at the very first lesson, she suddenly collapses. Qifrey panics and asks if she needs to take a break, but Coco pulls herself together, stands up, and insists she is totally fine. He asks her what she has figured out so far. Coco explains that a spell is made up of 3 parts. Right in the middle is the crest, surrounded by lines called signs, and the outermost circle is called the ring. She also points out that the crest determines the type and nature of the magic, like fire, water, light, or wind. The signs dictate the shape, size, and direction of the magic. And finally, when the outer ring is fully closed, the spell activates. After breaking all of that down, Coco feels a bit dizzy and admits that trying to remember everything feels super overwhelming. Still, Qifrey praises her for totally nailing the explanation. Gathering her courage, Coco says she wants to try drawing a spell herself. Qifrey is stoked to see her determination and steps back to watch her, but Coco struggles to focus for a while, and when she finally starts drawing, she ends up crumpling the paper and tossing it aside halfway through. Qifrey picks up the paper and tells her not to throw her work away. Coco instantly panics, begging him not to look at it, because it is awful. The lines are completely uneven, and the whole thing is just a mess. But Qifrey calmly explains that it is totally normal for her first attempts to look like that since she is just starting out. He then points out a crucial detail. Her ring did not fully connect, and until that circle is completely closed, the spell will not activate. He reassures her that having shaky hands in the beginning is exactly like a newborn baby trying to stand up for the first time. With practice, she will get perfect at it. Hearing that helps Coco calm down quite a bit. Qifrey then tells her to connect the lines and activate the spell. The moment Coco closes the ring, the spell kicks in, but a powerful blast of water shoots out and blasts straight toward the door. Agat ends up totally soaked and slowly turns around to glare at Coco. Coco completely panics and starts apologizing over and over. Then she realizes that Agat's own assignment got ruined by the water too. Seeing that makes Coco panic even harder, and she frantically tries to fix it. Qifrey steps in to calm her down and asks Agat if she is okay. Agat calmly fixes her hair and says she does not care about getting wet, but she demands to see Coco's drawing. Qifrey gives the green light. The second Agat looks at the drawing, she spots the problem. She points out to Coco that one of the signs is drawn way too long. Because of that, the pressure built up entirely in one direction, causing the water to blast out so hard. Qifrey confirms she is right and praises Agat for having a sharp eye. He then tosses Agat a towel to dry off and mentions that he is leaving Coco in her hands. Coco is a little surprised by that, Qifrey explains that he is heading to the Great Hall for the next 2 or 3 days, so he wants Agat to keep an eye on her. Agat agrees without any hassle, but Coco still feels really unsure about the whole setup. Qifrey explains that she can learn a ton from her peers, so she should pay close attention to Agat. Without leaving any room for argument, he heads out. Coco slowly walks over to Agat and apologizes again, but Agat cuts her off, telling her she does not need to keep saying sorry. She looks Coco dead in the eye and reminds her that she needs to prove herself. There are no more easy lessons, and her tests are officially starting right now. Later in the story, Qifrey meets up with Alara in bed. Alara mentions she heard he is traveling again and that he took on a brand new apprentice. Qifrey admits word travels fast, but Alara reminds him that this girl might be connected to the forbidden magic incident he is investigating. Qifrey brushes it off, saying that is not the point, and mentions that Coco has not even taken her test yet, so she is not officially his apprentice. Alara is pretty surprised to hear that, but they both agree that this is a terrible time for a test because the data range is extremely dangerous right now and could literally get someone killed. Despite all of that, Agat is already prepping Coco to head out for her test. Coco is willing to do it, but she is having second thoughts because Qifrey is not there. Agat shoots that down, explaining that she has to take the test completely solo, so whether he is there or not makes absolutely zero difference. Agat tells her that the first test is the Crown of Compass, where she is only allowed to take 3 magical tools and her personal gear. She has to climb to the very peak of the data range all by herself and grab a specific rare plant. Agat hands her a guiding compass to point the way and a vapor bubble for drinking water. Coco packs everything up and gets ready to head out. Right before leaving, she hesitantly asks Agat to borrow her shoes, pointing out that they count as magical tools and could really help her out. Agat goes totally quiet at first, making Coco think she pushed her luck. She immediately tries to take it back, but Agat eventually caves and hands the shoes over. After that, Agat immediately sends her off to the data range, warning her that she only gets 1 shot at this test. If she fails, she will never become an apprentice and will be kicked out of the atelier for good. Coco is now completely alone in a dark, creepy forest. She is terrified, but she knows there is no turning back now. She pulls out the guiding compass. It takes her a minute, but she figures out how to use it and bravely starts making her way toward the mountain. Coco tries to hype herself up, but the second she takes a step, she trips over a tree root and eats dirt. Still, she refuses to quit. She immediately gets back on her feet, reminding herself that Agat passed this exact same test when she was just 10 years old. If Agat could pull it off, so can she, no matter how many times she falls down. After a lot of struggling, Coco somehow manages to make it out of the woods. But when she finally reaches the data range, she is completely stunned to see the mountains literally floating in the sky above a massive lake. The guiding compass points straight up, making it crystal clear that the plant she needs is on those floating peaks. Coco sits down for a bit to think, totally caught off guard by this. She has absolutely no idea how she is supposed to get all the way up there. Just then, she spots a 4-winged bird flying in the sky, which instantly reminds her of the shoes Agat gave her. She jumps up and tries to take off, but absolutely nothing happens. Instead, a gust of wind knocks her right back down. She takes a closer look at her shoes and realizes the magical seal is split into 2 halves, 1 on each sole. It hits her that she has to line them up perfectly. She stands up, puts her feet in the exact right position to complete the seal, and the moment she does, she actually lifts off the ground for the very first time. She is beyond thrilled, but the excitement does not last long. She loses her balance and crashes right into the bushes. She remembers what Qifrey told her about being like a little kid learning to walk. Still, she is stoked that she actually managed to fly. Realizing she can fly straight up to the summit to save time, she dusts herself off and keeps trying. Every single time, she gets a little higher, but eventually loses her balance and falls right back down. She reminds herself of Qifrey's advice that she will get the hang of it if she just takes it step by step. Keeping that in mind, she relentlessly keeps practicing. Meanwhile, Qifrey is at the Great Hall, dropping off an application. Alara tells him that if he just stayed there, he would not have to make this crazy long trip all the time. She also points out that he could just bring his apprentices along since they have everything they need right there. Qifrey replies that he only comes around when he absolutely has to and has no other reason to be there. Alara easily picks up on the fact that he is not exactly attached to the place. She warns him that he needs to keep a much closer eye on his apprentices because leaving kids to their own devices is just asking for trouble. Back at the mountain, Coco keeps trying without taking a single break. Her balance is definitely getting better. She slowly starts flying higher and higher. After a while, she makes it almost all the way to the top, but suddenly loses her balance completely and starts falling out of the sky. In a total panic, she loses her focus and her shoes separate, completely breaking the magical seal. While plummeting, Coco somehow manages to click her feet together for a split second, stopping her fall just enough to catch her breath. But she loses control again and desperately reaches out to grab the roots hanging from the floating Dada range. She grips the roots with everything she has, just dangling there and trying to catch her breath. Out of nowhere, a fluffy white creature pops up right in front of her. It startles Coco so badly that she lets go without even thinking. She quickly tries to click her heels together to fly again, but this time, she plummets straight into the water below. The creature falls in right alongside her and grabs onto her guiding compass, trying to swim. Coco looks closely at it and realizes it is a brush buddy, an animal she has never seen before. After a little while, they both pull themselves out of the water. Coco notices her shoes are completely caked in mud. She tries to clean them off, but the second she wipes them with her clothes, the magical seal drawn on the soles completely wipes away. Seeing that, Coco totally panics and frantically tries to redraw the seal, but the conjuring ink in her bag already spilled and ruined everything. She is completely at a loss for what to do next. When she looks up at the sky, she sees the sun starting to set and feels like it might really be game over. Back at the atelier, Tetia finally realizes Coco is nowhere to be found. She asks Agat about it, and Agat casually mentions that Coco went to the Dada range to take her test. Hearing this, Tetia completely freaks out, saying Agat should have stopped her because she is nowhere near ready for that. Agat fires back that most people pass this test super early on, and if Coco cannot handle something this simple, she has no business being an apprentice. She flat out says she has zero patience for people who cannot keep up with her level. Agat adds that there is nothing to worry about anyway because Coco will just fail and come right back. She points out that the Dada range is floating way too high right now, and there is no way Coco can fly up there. She does not know the rules and has no clue how dangerous it actually is. Hearing all of this makes Tetia incredibly upset, and she loses her appetite completely. She turns to Riche, but when Tetia expresses her worries, Riche just grabs more food. Tetia feels like she is the only one who actually cares about what happens to Coco, but Riche points out that there is really nothing they can do except wait for Qifrey to get back. Meanwhile, Coco tries taking a small boat to reach the Dada range, but she cannot even get close to the roots. She quickly realizes this plan is a total bust. She tries to use whatever tiny bit of ink she has left to fix the seal on her shoes, but because the shoes are soaking wet, the ink just bleeds everywhere and nothing works. Coco is completely stuck. She briefly thinks about drawing the magic seal directly on her own feet so she can fly, but she instantly drops the idea when she remembers that drawing magic on a human body is strictly forbidden. She has absolutely no idea what to do. Slowly, she starts feeling like maybe Agat was completely right. Anyone can draw magic, but not everyone is actually cut out for it. Maybe you really do have to be born special to become a witch. Coco thinks about how everyone else has been learning magic since they were little kids, feeling like she will never be able to catch up to their level. But right then, she remembers her mom, who taught her how to sew from a very young age. She had learned how to use tools when she was just a little girl, and her mom had patiently taught her how to cut perfectly straight lines. Over time, Coco had gotten so good at it that even Qifrey was blown away by her work, calling it a form of real magic. Remembering that gives Coco a massive light bulb moment. She realizes she already has her own kind of magic. She immediately runs into the woods and gathers all the materials she needs. Then she heads back to the boat, pulls an ink-stained cloth out of her bag, and wraps it tightly around a sharp rock. She uses a little water from her vapor bubble to mix the ink perfectly. After that, she grabs her cloak, which is pretty stiff from all the mud, making it the perfect canvas for her to draw on. She spreads the cloak out flat, takes a deep breath, and channels everything her mom ever taught her. Slowly and steadily, Coco starts drawing a perfectly straight, flawless line. Qifrey had told her that having shaky hands when using a new tool is completely normal. So Coco decides to use the tool she is most comfortable with. Her hands start moving almost instinctively, and she spends the entire night drawing without a single break. By the time the sun comes up, Coco has drawn a massive, flawless casting seal right on her cloak, one so big she can actually use it, like the sail of a boat. The little white creature wakes up too, and Coco happily names it Brush Buddy. She shows him the seal she made, admitting it looks a little weird because the signs are not perfectly balanced. Qifrey had taught her that if the signs are uneven, the magical energy will heavily favor one side. Coco intentionally drew one side way longer so she could see exactly what would happen. Right then, the little creature climbs onto her shoulder, clearly wanting to tag along. Coco smiles and is more than happy to take him with her. She grabs the edges of the cloak and completely closes the casting seal to see if her crazy experiment will actually work. The second she does, the boat starts shaking violently. Coco gets super excited, but instead of launching up into the sky, the boat starts diving straight down. She realizes she totally messed up the direction. The boat completely loses control, thrashing around wildly. Coco just holds on for dear life, trying not to get thrown out. Suddenly, the sail rips loose and yanks Coco straight up into the air. Terrified, she clings to it tightly, but after a minute, she figures out how to steer and manages to steady herself in the sky. It hits her that she is actually flying using magic she created all by herself. She basically built her own flying cloak. Coco is absolutely overjoyed. The whole thing feels like a literal dream because she is finally using the magic she has obsessed over since she was a little kid, and it makes her think of her home and her mom. She realizes that the skills she practiced every single day with her mom are exactly what saved her right now. Tears well up in her eyes, but at the same time, it gives her a massive boost of confidence. She flies even higher and finally spots the rare plant, but grabbing it is nowhere near easy. Every time Coco tries to snatch it, she loses her balance completely. She comes incredibly close to falling out of the sky multiple times, but every single time, she grips her cloak as tight as she can. She is laser-focused on her goal. She keeps trying over and over again. She is so completely locked in that at one point she almost crashes, but thinking of her mom grounds her and keeps her steady. Fueled by pure determination, Coco silently tells her mom to just hold on and wait for her, promising she will take full responsibility for her mistakes. Finally, she reaches the plant and successfully grabs it. Meanwhile, Qifrey makes it back to the atelier and is absolutely horrified to find out that Coco went to take the test all by herself. Tetia is completely freaking out too, and Qifrey confirms that what Coco is doing is insanely dangerous. He immediately decides he has to go rescue her. Agat tries to stop him, but Qifrey shuts her down, explaining that Coco was nowhere near ready for this because she did not grow up surrounded by magic like the rest of them. He also makes it clear that if something bad happens to Coco, she will not be the only one paying the price. Qifrey rushes to throw open a window to teleport straight to the Dada range, but the second the window opens, everyone is completely stunned. Coco is standing right there on the other side, holding the rare plant in her hand. Tetia instantly runs over, hugs her tight, and starts crying out of pure relief. Coco is totally confused and has no idea why everyone is reacting so intensely. She walks over to Agate, shows her the plant, and proudly says she passed the test. But Agate does not say a single word and just quietly walks away. After that, Qifrey sits Coco down and explains that using magic without the right preparation and knowledge is incredibly dangerous. He tells her she could have easily died today, and she should never pull a stunt like that again. Coco realizes how badly she messed up and apologizes from the bottom of her heart. Then, Qifrey drops a bomb. He tells her she never actually needed to risk her life to prove herself because he had already accepted her as his apprentice. He then hands her the uniform he picked up from the Great Hall. Coco is completely speechless. Qifrey explains that this uniform is proof that she is officially a witch now, adding that it is not just something to be proud of, it is a heavy responsibility to ensure she never misuses her magic. Coco happily puts the uniform on. The second she puts on the pointed hat, Qifrey tells her that as long as she wears it, she has to remember the weight of that responsibility, because it essentially keeps her magic in check. Coco is absolutely thrilled and promises she will always treat it with the utmost respect. In the final scene, a mysterious witch is shown standing high up on the Dada Range. This is the same person who silently watched Coco's entire test unfold. Looking down, the witch thinks to themselves that a brand new seed has just sprouted.